hope all is well. Welcome back to the Let's Talk Truth podcast. I'm Eileen Nicole, your host. Today we're going to be talking about sexual assault and how rampant sex trafficking is and how rampant it's becoming. So you may have heard of sex trafficking in the recent news when we heard about the dirty deeds of Mr. Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew. We also heard of Pizzagate when President Donald Trump was running for office. But since then, trafficking has been not the media storm that it was when that was all going on, Pizzagate and Jeffrey Epstein. It's definitely not as publicized as it was before. You can still find these stories, it's just not so public. Anyways, in recent news, there's a story of Piper Lewis. So Piper Lewis, she currently is 17, but she was just 15 years old when she was trafficked after running away from home. She killed a rapist named Zachary Brooks, who she said had raped her multiple times in the weeks before she killed him. Piper was adopted by her foster parents, Billy and Leslie Lewis. When her foster parents separated in 2019, Piper ended up living back with her mom. And her mother's name is currently unavailable, but according to Piper, living with her mother was like a living hell, so she ran away. And like a lot of sex trafficking victims, they come from broken homes or broken situations and then preyed upon when they meet a predator. Now, this predator's name, it's alleged because this person was never convicted of the crime. However, the judge in the case did say that Piper was a victim. But the predator's name is Zachary Brooks. And there's also another man attached to this case, but whose name was not mentioned in the news media. But according to Piper's plea agreement, she was 15 when she ran away, and she started sleeping in a hallway of a building in Des Moines, Iowa. Lewis met a 28-year-old musician who offered to take her in. Now, this man forced her to have sex with other men for money, including Brooks. So basically, this 28-year-old musician started to pimp a 15-year-old out because in Black America, pimp culture is the way to go, even if it's a child. Brooks was another person that she was forced to have sex with. So the musician who trafficked Lewis and brought her to Zachary Brooks has not been charged for the sex crime of the underage girl, which is mind-blowing to me. He's not even been charged. Now, according to Lewis's attorney, on May 31st, she refused to go to Brooks's apartment, and the musician reacted by cutting her neck and demanding her to go. After Brooks had sexually assaulted her on multiple occasions, she said the man she was living with at the time forced her by cutting her neck with a knife and demanding her to go back to that apartment to get some marijuana. Now, the plea agreement said for the next 2 nights, she was forced to strip, drink alcohol, and smoke marijuana by Brooks and 2 other people. Weeks later, while visiting Brooks's home in June, Lewis fell asleep and was awakened by Brooks raping her. Once he fell asleep, then the 15-year-old says that she was getting ready to leave. She noticed a knife on the nightstand, and she used the knife to kill Brooks as he slept, and she stabbed him 30 times. Piper was originally charged with first-degree murder, but she wrote in a plea agreement that she didn't plan his murder and was overcome with rage, and after he allegedly raped her for that last time. Now, after her sentencing hearing on September 13, 2022, she was ordered to pay $150,000 in restitution to the family of this degenerate. She was in juvenile detention since this happened at 15 years old, and the judge said this was time served and deferred the 2 10-year sentences, but she does have to serve 5 years of probation. Lewis is just one of the several teenagers, often of color, who have been legally penalized or convicted of killing their sex trafficker or assaulter in recent years in the U.S. So advocates like Kelly Marie Meek, who is the Prevention and Public Health Initiatives Coordinator at the Iowa Coalition Against Sexual Assault, she told CNN that women of color who've experienced sexual violence and trafficking who act in self-defense against the people who harm them have not been treated well by our legal system historically. And we know that's true, because this woman, because she was a runaway, you will have people say that she knew what she was doing, she deserved it, she ran away, so she should have been, she should be held accountable for her actions. When all the circumstances failed her, as a child, she wasn't an adult that this fell into. A child fell into these circumstances, and then an adult ended up harming her. That adult is not being held accountable, though. One of them is dead, and the other one hasn't even been brought up on charges, but he's probably safe in his house sleeping like a baby. Anyway, there was a statement released that the funds she did raise over $400,000 in GoFundMe. There was a large GoFundMe campaign that was started for her, and she raised over $400,000. Now the statement that was released that says that the funds will be used to pay off Piper's $150,000 restitution, to pay off additional $4,000 in restitution to the state, remove financial barriers for Piper in pursuing college, university, or starting her own business, and give Piper the financial capacity to explore ways to help other young victims of sex crimes. Now, this is just one sexual abuse case, but there are so many more that are going on in this country. It's running rampant. And the main problem is that the perpetrators get treated like the victims, and the victims get treated like Piper just got treated. She's the one that's being demonized and has to pay restitution, but this man, the second person who initially got her involved in all the sex trafficking, he's not even been charged. There's nothing that's going to happen to him. And that's the problem. That right there is the problem. It will continue to be the problem. So what do we do about this? First, we educate ourselves. Let's take a look at some more information about trafficking.
Americans care a lot about money. We talk about jobs and taxes and paychecks, but here's what we don't talk about. Right here in the United States, there is a thriving underground economy based on selling children for sex. If sex sells, then business is good. Look at all the money. It was almost $1 billion in this study. But these dirty profits come at a huge cost. This is how sex traffickers do business. It's about supply and demand. First, they need someone to sell. Traffickers target children in their own homes. They find them by combing through social media profiles looking to spark a conversation. The trafficker targets preteens and teens by finding an end, something to bond over and earn their trust. It could be the promise of a modeling career. They might buy them drugs or alcohol, or provide protection from an already dangerous situation at home. Traffickers gain psychological control and use violent threats to force victims to stay. Once the child is isolated from family and friends, the trafficker puts them up for sale. This is where the demand comes in. Traffickers use internet sites to connect with buyers or Johns, but calling them Johns is too polite. They are abusers. They are purchasing kids for sex. So who are these buyers? Court records show they've been teachers, pastors, cops, and judges. They could be the guy next door. The trafficker gets the money. The buyer gets sex. The child victim gets exploited and sold. So how is this different from prostitution, pornography, or other sexual acts? These victims are minors. Legally, they cannot consent. This isn't the movies. It's not like Pretty Woman or Taken. Richard Gere is not the buyer. Liam Neeson isn't there to save the day. This is sexual exploitation. This is trafficking. This is modern day slavery.
As a community, we have to continue to speak against this. This is the only thing that's going to work. We have to bring awareness, not just about the activities that are happening, but bring awareness against speaking against this and eventually working towards getting harsher laws put on the predators who commit these crimes. Sex crimes are not taken as serious as murder or even as a drug crimes. There's some people in prison for life for drug crimes, but not for sex crimes. You know, there's a popular show on TV called Law and Order SVU. I think about just about every woman watches that show just because it really kind of depicts our plight. Either it's us or it's someone that we know, or it's us trying to educate ourselves on not becoming that person, or knowing how to help if we know someone that happens to. But at the end of the day, bringing awareness, keeping awareness about it, and then also speaking against this loudly, though. We have to publicly continue to speak against it, because if not, it's going to continue to get worse and worse and worse and worse. Now, that's the end of today's podcast, but I will be coming to you with more information about this. Please subscribe and like the video. It helps bring awareness to this topic so people can see this video. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and on TikTok. But please share the video. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. You enjoy the rest of your day. Love you. Bye.